Hello friends, and welcome. I'm Smooth, and today we're going through a game that brought me a phenomenal experience. I Am Your Beast is a beautifully comic-esque designed, fast-paced FPS that follows Alphonse Harding's journey of revenge against his former commander. In this game, you spend your time battering the poor souls that have been sent out to hunt Harding and bring him to justice for disobeying said commander. First and foremost, I'd highly recommend checking this game out. I had a lot of fun. The gameplay is super smooth, and it's extremely rewarding. And just to get this out of the way, my only gripe personally with this game is that sometimes I felt like the controls are a bit clunky for the pace of the game. Some levels are extremely demanding, especially on the cold sweat levels. Although mind you, I am on a controller, and when I was watching PC players run through these levels, it was a night and day difference. But anyway, great game, and let's get back to why we're actually here. I Am Your Beast's achievement list is standard as far as trophy hunting goes. Beating each campaign mission nets you an achievement, and once you've beaten the entire campaign, it nets you a second awfully nice achieve. You then get another achievement for beating the COI support mode, and then another one just for beating all the levels in the cold sweat mode. Then you get to the perfectionist achievements. These require you to get S ranks on all the campaign levels, all the COI missions, and all the bonus challenge levels as well. An important side note to mention, you can only unlock the bonus challenge missions by completing bonus objectives and getting S ranks from the campaign. What are these S ranks? Well, S ranks in I Am Your Beast require you to get creative with kills, utilising headshots, knives, claymores, hornets, explosives, and even tree branches, all whilst doing the level as efficiently as possible. These unorthodox kills will buy you precious seconds to ensure your timer stays in the S zone. Let me show you what I'm so done with. Our journey began by completing the 24 story missions. That's 24 achievements right there. To unlock our bonus missions in the challenge modes, both bonus objectives had to be finished in each level. These bonus objectives included a certain number of kills with a particular weapon in the level, passive runs, dodging helicopter fire, and other challenges that made the levels that tiny bit harder. Our second requirement to unlock the bonus missions was to get an S rank. This would be done by beating the level as fast and efficiently as possible. All in all, the story missions were very straightforward and extremely forgiving in terms of timings and S zone rankings. Whilst there were obviously tougher levels that required so much more patience and attention to enemy movement and positions, none of the story levels really had me stumped. Nothing compared to later. This just left me to run through the campaign and enjoy the story it had to offer with some fantastic visuals, music, and voice acting from both Harding and the enemies. Nothing more beautiful than that banner popping up at the bottom of your screen. Next on the agenda was beating all the support group levels. The COI support levels were a lot of fun. Each level started with an enemy agent retelling their experience and interactions with Alphonse Harding.
At the end, General Birkin ordered that we hand out RPGs to anyone who could hold a cup of coffee.
Well, they were just fresh out of training?
Who said anything about training?
We then had to complete the experience from Harding's perspective.
Bring Harding to...
Fortunately for me, they were all simple enough to race through in one afternoon. I preferred these levels, purely because of how much faster and smoother they felt to run through compared to the story missions. Once again, none of these levels were particularly challenging on an any percent run through, and just like that, all the support levels were done. It was time to step it up a gear and go for the S ranks. The COI levels were certainly more challenging than the main story missions in terms of getting an S rank. I struggled a lot with these levels, I have to be honest. I even started with the last level first, as I found that one the easiest to S rank. After that, it was repeatedly doing the other levels over and over again until something stuck. Pitch Black, Rocket Science, and Bad Idea all came out in one sitting. It was a fairly long 2-hour sitting, but by just restarting and restarting, I eventually got my route together, and it was only a matter of time before I got it done. The triple S rank gave me some good momentum to move forwards onto the next levels. For some reason, I ended up on Super Hot and beat that first try, which obviously meant I wasn't recording due to the fear of making 45-minute long attempt footage. Next, it was onto my most difficult challenge of the COI levels. Locked out. Whilst I initially had troubles even shooting the mines on the first tunnel, it was plain sailing right up until I hit the final section, where I couldn't get my pathing right at all. Oh, and I also kept missing my rockets and bullets. Taking frequent breaks, deep breaths, dog pets, and many glasses of water later, I had managed to get a bit of luck in terms of enemy positioning, and I was rewarded with an S rank. An easier level dungeon crawl saw Harding fly by in 2 attempts. Our second to last level, Look Down, took a little bit of trial and error, but in the end we were unfazed by rockets, mines, and snipers. Our last COI support level to S rank was Fisticuffs, a level where Harding has super strength, and you can just obliterate people by punching them or throwing things at them. It too took a couple of retries, but in the end we punched our way to an S rank. With the COI all S ranked, it was time to turn our attention to the challenge levels. These missions, as you can tell, were designed to challenge your abilities, and the only way to get our achievement was to trim all the fat off our run-throughs to make Harding as efficient as possible. Otherwise, we would never get those S ranks. The challenge levels were particularly tough, hence why they were only unlocked after S ranking and completing a lot of bonus objectives from the main story. I found them much harder than the COI levels, so we still certainly had some work to do. Firstly, it was time to run through the levels to familiarise ourselves. Then, it was S ranking time. I struggled with these levels for a long time. For some reason, nothing would click for me, and I'd often die or lose out on the S rank run in the dying seconds. Until one fateful day, God smiled upon me and I managed to fly through 8 levels in a row, each level taking around 4 to 5 tries, and I was on top of the world until I reached Leap Year. Leap Year is level 9, and my word did it have me by the balls. I couldn't get it clicking at all. I'd miss crucial shots, I'd fall to my death, I'd be shot to death, I'd mess up my start, I'd fall to my death, I'd be sniped, I'd explode, I'd fall to my you get the point. How on earth was I to beat this level? I couldn't fathom another just like that Leap Year was behind me. Okay. It took a lot of repetition, but finally it all came together and we're back on the road for about 2 minutes. The next 2 levels, Acid Rain and Vertigo, were similar stories, tough levels with even tougher S ranks. Both levels involved a helicopter strafing overhead, which is probably what made them so challenging, as even Alphonse Harding is no match for a gunship. Acid Rain proved to be difficult, as the main objective was to destroy the actual chopper, meaning you had to buy yourself time killing enemies, whilst also grabbing as many rockets as possible to fire off in wild panic at where you think the helicopter is. A trick I learned was that if you position yourself in certain areas, the helicopter will always fly to a default starting position to start its strafe. Once you learn where those spots are, you can fire a rocket where the chopper will go and almost always hit it and do some serious damage. With that trick in mind, Acid Rain was beaten. And then, Vertigo. The thing that made this level tricky was narrow, linear paths with very little cover, racing down a mountain covered in soldiers to a hatch at the bottom. Also, yes, the helicopter is here. And also, yes, the helicopter strafes the tiny narrow pathways you go down, making this level very tough. Whilst the helicopter strafes can kill the enemy soldiers, it's better and faster if you kill them yourself, as a stray kill from the chopper will only grant you about 0.3 seconds worth of time, whereas a headshot from Harding with any weapon will grant you about half a second. It was a duck and weave job. Once you'd calmed down about the presence of the gunship and solely focused on getting kills instead of hiding, you could keep a good pace to outmaneuver the helicopter when and where it strafed. With that mindset, Vertigo was in the dust. Then came Run Wild, the last level of the challenges, only unlocked by getting S ranks on 20 plus levels and more than at least 10 sets of bonus objectives completed. I was expecting the worst, and the level was particularly intimidating. It just took some refinement on my part, a bit of patience, and a lot of explosives. And would you look at that, the challenge levels were out of our way. Well, humble viewer, I can hear your cries. How can you have finished the main campaign, the COI levels, and the bonus missions, and still have some video left to make? Well, my friend, given my ridiculous ego after S ranking all the levels in the game, I saw the cold sweat mode and thought, how hard could it be? The cold sweat levels were purely just to test your abilities to their maximum. Accuracy, pathic, mental fortitude, and most importantly, your patience. Because unless you're John Wick in his prime, you're not S-ranking any of these levels on your first couple of attempts. And if you did S-rank these on your first couple of attempts, then be quiet and let me tell my story. I immediately understood the hole I had thrown myself into after trying to beat the first cold sweat level. You see, Limbo spawns you in a normal looking level with the objective to kill all enemies in the area and then escape. But once you've killed all the enemies and you reach the escape hatch, it resets you to the start of the level, only this time it's completely different and there are more enemies and more mines. You go through this process 3 times before you finally get the last tiny section to race through. Limbo took Harding and subsequently me through the ringer. Our first taste of cold sweat was expected. Disgusting, unforgiving and riddled with mines. After around 4 straight days of trying to S-rank this level, and the best time I could get was 20.44 seconds, I still had to shave off just under 2 seconds to get that S-rank. Upon many attempts, my aim steadied and I was so locked in I forgot about my cereal, and ended up racing through the level of Limbo. I had managed to knock off some heads, blow up some dudes, and only gone and smashed the S-rank by almost 1.5 seconds. My cold sweat S-rank journey had just begun. I was confident and optimistic, even with a bowl of soggy shreddies. Our next level was Deep Breath. Now this level was nowhere near close to as difficult as Limbo. The only difficulty I had was that the clock would keep running into A rank as I was falling to the end of the level. Bearing that in mind, a couple of heavy sighs and mutterings later, we had the S rank. Next up was Clear Skies. It was unbelievably straightforward, so a couple of practice runs later and the S rank, albeit with sweaty palms, was achieved. I couldn't believe how well we were doing. But then came the next level, Rigged. And it is, with an imminent airstrike on the way, a lot of snipers, a lot of rocket dudes, and knife-wielding maniacs, this level was tough. I was going at this level for hours, but I hit the 14.5 second limit on almost all of my attempts, with the bracket for the S rank being at 13 seconds. I was feeling defeated, demoralised. I couldn't figure out exactly what was holding my runs back, and then it hit me like a sniper bullet shaped slap to the face. I wasn't going for headshots, which provide you extra time, so I did, and I immediately sorted out my issue, and what do you know, another S rank. Since I was in the mood for more S ranks, I foolishly took myself out to the Steel Crops level. It followed the same criteria of Rig. It was chaotic, explosives, and lots of knife-wielding maniacs. Thankfully, it was much more forgiving, and a handful of runs later saw an S rank in no time. We were down to the last 2 levels. First up, Pipe Dream. Following a series of pipes on a super interesting little course, we had the same job, quick, smooth, and to make sure we hit that S rank. This level was tough, as most of them were, obviously, but eventually I had managed to create such a polished little route that I was on form, and it only took a matter of attempts to do it. I was so slick on my S rank run in Pipe Dream that when I managed to almost lose it at the very end, where I missed a shot on a sniper late in the level, I quickly managed to recover it, and it was down to the wire for the final stretch. But it was never in doubt. Our final level, Butterfly Effect. This level was everything you'd learned and experienced over the course of the game wrapped into one seriously tough and unforgiving level. And I beat it in 4 tries. As much as I wanted this to be a fantastic little cinematic battle for the final S rank, I did it in 20 minutes compared to the hours it took me for the others. And since that was rather underwhelming, at least I'd now received the achievement for S ranking all of the Cold Sweat levels in I Am Your Beast. Well, humble viewer, the surprise here is that there was no achievement to do with the S ranking Cold Sweat mode. There was only one achievement related to Cold Sweat for just playing the levels. I did all that for the love of the game. It's good to be back. Thanks for watching, friends. Have a good day or night, and I'll see you next time.